What is up, everybody? Welcome to the Cubs Live Podcast. I am your host, Kyle Malzhan, alongside co-host Mark Talarico. And dude, talking about Cubs baseball with this week, there's a lot of positives. We're going to, in this week's episode, we're going to be talking about Jose Quintana, his success as of late, Darvish making progress, the bullpen, they're improving pretty well too. Contreras, Hayward, they all look good. So there's a lot to talk about. And tonight, the Cubs are going for their first series sweep of the season in Miami. So hopefully by the time that you guys are listening to this podcast, we're recording it before the series finale in Miami. So hopefully by the time you guys listen to it, they have a sweep under their belt heading into Arizona. But Mark, excuse me, I just want to start out by talking about Jose Quintana because the guy is pitching lights out baseball on the mound. And Q's, listen to this stat, in Q's last two outings, 14 innings pitched, 0 earned runs, 18 strikeouts, but only 1 walk, which is very impressive because Cubs pitching to start the 2019 season, the whole thing was that they were walking people. And now Jose Quintana is locked in. Cole Hamels, we'll see what he does tonight versus the Marlins. But his last outing, he was phenomenal as well. So Jose Quintana right now is looking like the guy the Cubs traded for back in July of 2017 for the highly profiled prospect Eloy Jimenez, who actually just made his major league debut on the South Side. So, Mark, what are you seeing out of Jose Quintana that's really sticking out to you right now?
The biggest thing, you talked about how he's looking so great and everything, and you were talking about his last two starts. How about the fact that since outside of the Milwaukee start for the season itself, he's pitched 18 innings with 0 earned runs, 4 walks, and 26 strikeouts. So that's including the relief appearance that he had against Texas. So outside of that one inflated start, which that's kind of what we've seen from Jose Quintana in the past, he'll kind of blow up every once in a while, but outside of that one start, he has been lights out, exactly who the Cubs hoped that he would be. And I don't think it's not really sustainable. He's not going to be 2015 Jake Arrieta. He's gonna, he'll give up his runs, but what we're seeing from him right now is amazing. He looks so confident on the mound. He has really good command. He's not walking anybody, and there aren't really any scoring chances. Like there will be a runner on second or something, but maybe with 2 outs. I don't remember the last time that Quintana has started, and I'm like, oh my God, there's a runner on second and third with nobody out. It's like I just feel at ease and confident with him, which I haven't been able to feel that way.
Yeah, he's quick and efficient, especially early in the count as well, getting ahead early. And that's key because his pitch count has always been down as well. And that's why he was able to go 7 and 8 innings and start the 8th at least. Didn't get there fully. But another pitcher that's been making progress, Darvish. He just recorded his second win as a Cub. And, he's had a pretty good outing no matter what the box score says the last 2 outings. And now the $126 million man on the mound. What really impressed me was him hitting 99 miles per hour 6 inning. And even though it wasn't anywhere near the strike zone, it tells me that Darvish in the late innings, he still has it. And that is very encouraging. Now, Mark, what are your thoughts or your takeaways in Darvish's last few starts? Because another thing I want to ask you as well is, do you think that Maddon should leave him out on the mound longer, or, when he gets into trouble, pull him? Because it seems like he just, he caves in sometimes. So, because the big thing right now is Maddon, when he gets into trouble, is pulling Darvish. And I just want to hear your thoughts. Like, if Maddon lets Darvish out there, do you think it can boost his confidence when he gets in those jams and be able to battle? Or do you think, even though it's early in the season, you don't want to fall behind early, and that's a part of Maddon taking him out early?
Well, it can go both ways because he can stay in longer and try to get out of a jam, and then he can give up a 3-run home run, and then boom, his confidence can be crushed because we know that Darvish is kind of the head case. So that can work one of 2 ways, honestly, because he can go out and he could force a double play, and boom, oh my God, 7 innings of 1-run baseball for Darvish. That's great, but I think that Maddon has a really, really short leash on him right now, but it's still the middle of April. I think that he can't do this long term. I don't think this is going to be the case long term. I think come May or June, if he gets into a jam, he's going to have to force his way out of it because you can't just be using your relievers every single game down the stretch because you're going to need them. You're going to need them to be fresh for outings.
What I want to counter that is that we've seen Joe Maddon kind of have that short leash with Kyle Hendricks. Mm-hmm. So he's had it with Kyle Hendricks as well, and it's maybe that he I don't know if he trusts his pitchers all that often. And especially it worries me that maybe he might not trust Darvish. And I mean, rightfully so. He has his reason not to be. But at some point, like you said, that Madden has to give in and let these guys battle. Because one, it's only going to build their confidence. And two, it's going to help the bullpen too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree wholeheartedly. I think that for now, it hasn't totally cost them in the last week and a half or so, I would say, because the bullpen's been pretty solid. The bullpen has really turned it around since that disaster of the first 8 games or so. But since then, the bullpen has turned it around, and they've been able to bail out whoever. Like, there's been times where even yesterday when they took out Quintana with a runner on first, like, no, leave him in, let him finish the 8th. But Kinsler, no problem, got him through it. It was okay.
Double play.
So it's, it goes both ways. I think that Madden eventually needs to start loosening the leash a little bit and giving them more chance, because that's what they're here for. They don't play every day. They play every 5 games. Let them go out there, get the most out of them, and see what they can do.
I like it. I totally agree with you, Mark. Now, let's talk about this offense a little bit. The offense, 2 guys that have struggled immensely to start the season have been Kris Bryant and Anthony Rizzo, that Bryzzo combo, hitting right in that second and third spot of the order, the meat and bones of the lineup. Bryant's hitting 217, and only slugging 350, and Rizzo hitting 169 and slugging 339. But look at this. The Cubs have scored the 6th most runs in the major leagues and 4th most in the NL. So it's been other guys that have been stepped up, which I'll get to in a minute. But when it comes to this Bryzzo combination and their struggles, which one worries you the most between the two, that it might not just be a slow start and maybe there's underlying factors, or should the fans just not be worried at all? Because look, we got an MVP caliber player on our team and all this other stuff. What are your thoughts on their slow start to the season?
Talk to me in June. I'm not gonna stress about it, especially when the rest of the offense is hitting. I mean, there will be times where if you look at other players, that there will be other players that are really good around the league that they're struggling too. Like, even if you look in St. Louis right now, Paul Goldschmidt isn't having a good start to the year. He's having pretty decent power numbers, but he's hitting like 230. Like, these players, it happens. Players go through slumps, and once again, when it's the beginning of the year, everything is just intensified, and it's just on this bigger stage because they have all the offseason off. Yeah, exactly. And you're just like, oh, it's Kris Bryant, it's Anthony Rizzo. They're going to come out and they're going to get 2 hits a game. They're going to hit a home run. Like, that's not the way it works every time. Baseball is going to baseball. And even yesterday, Kris Bryant hit a ball that went to the warning track. He's hitting the ball hard, and Rizzo's taking his walks. He's getting on base. Like, they're still seeing the ball. Like, it's just that they're hitting it in the wrong spots. I think it'll work itself out. As long as the rest of the players are carrying them along, that's nothing really to worry about.
I totally agree. I mean, Kris Bryant, he said that today, reported by Jesse Rogers on Twitter, that he said that Kris Bryant thinks he's close to a hot streak and acknowledges how tough things can and have been. And, when he talks about baseball, Kris Bryant said this: it will humble you really quick. It will make you feel great for 30 seconds, and it will make you feel awful for a full day. And it's very true, because baseball is a game where you fail more times than you succeed, and it's okay, right? There's no other sport that you can say that. So, yeah, I totally agree. I mean, when you look at it, you're thinking micro right now. You got to think macro. It's only in April. These fans that say trade Kris Bryant, he's a bust, all this other stuff. Look, if you're still pondering about an injured 2018 season, which he was actually off to the best start of his career in the beginning of 2018, even better than his MVP season or 2017 or even Rookie of the Year, relax a little bit. And just a reminder that 4 years ago today is the anniversary of Kris Bryant's debut. Kris Bryant, in his 2015 Rookie of the Year campaign, he didn't hit a home run until mid-May. So, I mean, things are going to sort itself out. So, but talking about guys that have stepped up, whether that's Wilson Contreras, Jason Hayward, David Bodie, all 3 of those guys have shown great strides as of early and as of late. Which of those 3 guys do you think will sustain those offensive numbers? Maybe not the same numbers, but still that consistency in the everyday lineup for the Cubs in 2019.
I mean, Wilson Contreras, I've gone on record saying that that's my guy. I think that he's returning to that July, August form, 2017 form that we loved so much and that we were hoping that we would see in 2018. And I mean, he looks so comfortable at the plate. And he is, if he gets hit on the elbow, he's going to bark and almost get kicked out of the game, but he just has so much energy, and I love seeing that. But overall, I mean, I've never seen him look more confident than he does right now. And Hayward looks amazing right now, and Hayward looks confident too. But this would be a career year for him. I just don't know if that's sustainable after the disaster of the last 3 years that he's had. And then David Bote, he is a clutch player that I will always want to have with runners in scoring position and the game on the line, anything like that. I will always want him on there. But I think he's still so new to the whole major leagues, I don't think that he's going to be an all-star caliber player right now necessarily. So I think he'll hit he'll get humbled a little bit, but he's going to be fine.
Yeah, and when I look at between Contreras, like you said, his power stride and his power stroke offensively, it seems like it's back. And Joe Madden said that he saw one thing wrong with Contreras. They fixed it, they addressed it, and he's seen the results translate into the regular season, which is huge because I think that's one key piece that the Cubs were really missing last year. And it showed in the second half just how bad it was. So I love Contreras. You and I, we both agree. We love the guy. He plays with passion. Jason Hayward. The thing about Jason Hayward that's impressing me a lot is one, he's getting some airtime on his hits. I mean, he's driving it up in the air, and two, he's barreling the crap out of the ball. It's pretty impressive how hard he hits the ball. And David Bote, like you said, I mean, he's going to have his ups and downs this year, his first full year in the majors, but he's had great strides as of late. He's like last night versus the Marlins, it came through a clutch 1-run double with 2 outs. So the thing about him is I really think the Cubs got a bargain on that deal because there's a lot of upside. And even if, maybe he doesn't pan out to what the Cubs hope, he's only going to get paid, what was it? $5 million, $3 million. It's bare cheap. It's 5 years for $15 million. So $3 million a year. It's crazy, and he's totally worth that. So good job on the Cubs getting that done because David Bote is going to be – not only does he bring great offensive strides, but he brings that versatility too where he could play third, he could play second. Maybe you could throw him in the outfield. So we'll see. But I do think that when you look at Contreras, Hayward, and Bote, that Contreras is the guy who's going to be settled in this lineup and really power stroking it this year.
Yeah.
So let's talk about the Cubs as a whole right now. They sit at 7-9 on the season. 4 games behind the Brewers, who are in first place. So still really early in the season. We're about midway through April. What's the state of the Cubs, Mark? I mean, what's their status right now? Their weaknesses, their strengths, or just where they stand right now? Because it seems like if I asked you maybe a week or two ago, it was the bullpen. And then the bullpen, they pitch 18 scoreless consecutive innings. And now it seems like a strength. So I want to hear your thoughts right now on where the Cubs are sitting.
I think that the Cubs they're okay. I think they're okay right now. I'm not freaking out about the Cubs. I'm not saying, oh my God, we need to get Craig Kimbrell, which I do think the Cubs still should. But I'm not totally freaking out. I'm not losing my mind every time that Pedro Strop comes in the game or Steve Cishek comes in the game or anybody from the bullpen. I'm not really freaking out about that. And I'm feeling a lot more confident than I was, and the offense they're looking great. And the kinds of I was talking to some people about this, that some of those runs, I think when they scored 3 runs the other day in the first inning or whatever, it was there were no home runs. It was just moving the ball, a single and then another hit and then go from first to third, then a sac fly or something. It was just the small ball kind of way.
Great situational hitting.
Situational hitting that the Cubs were not able to do last year, that the Cubs were able to do really well in 2016 and just work really well. That's what I'm seeing. I'm seeing a lot more of it, and I think it's just that the hitters are a lot more confident. And once Rizzo and Bryant, once they figure it out, it's only going to get better. But in the meantime, if that is your biggest problem, the fact that Rizzo and Bryant aren't hitting and this team is still top 5 in the National League in hitting in all categories, then you're fine. And then the pitching, as long as the rotation is doing what it's doing, then this is great because the rotation they're going 5 to 7 innings deep every game, it looks like, and then the bullpen's coming in and shutting the door. So I'm feeling good. I'm still terrified of the Brewers, but we'll get to that later. It is April 17th.
Yeah, it's nice little fresh breath of air, from where we were 2 weeks ago watching the Cubs in the opening week. It's nice to see some really good positives, whether it's offensively, the bullpen making strides, the starting rotation going longer. One thing I really want to see is more quality Darvish starts. I really want to see him in the next few weeks and see where we are, maybe a month down the line, and see what we're talking about Darvish, how well he's doing. But yeah, I think the Cubs are in a good place. I think there's still definitely things to work on, whether that's the meat of the lineup improving, or that's still you got to strengthen a bullpen, because the bullpen, you can never be settled with a bullpen. So yeah, there's things that are really good for the Cubs. There's things that need to improve. So, but look, hopefully the Cubs first chance for a sweep tonight. So let's hope that they get that. They finish up their series in Miami tonight. They traveled to Arizona to start a weekend series versus the Diamondbacks, a team that's 8-9. So fairly similar to the Cubs. The Cubs have Hendricks, Darvish, and Quintana on the mound. Mark, what should we expect this weekend when the Cubs travel to AZ? What do you expect out of Hendricks, Darvish, Q? Do you expect Hendricks to struggle in the first inning, or Darvish to fall and crumble, or do you expect Quintana to do what he's been doing and Darvish to come out pitching lights out? I don't know. I want to hear what you're thinking about this Diamondback series.
Well, I'm excited because I'm actually going home for the weekend, and I actually get to go to the game on April 20th. So I'm very excited for that first game of the year. Can't wait for that. Hopefully, I'm kind of a bad luck charm, but let's hope that I help bring them a win. But as a team, the Diamondbacks, I'm going to throw out some stats, and then I'll get into what to expect from the pitchers. But as a team, offensively, they're pretty similar. They're pretty similar to the Cubs. They have the 6th highest team OPS in the majors, and it's like 3 points above the Cubs. It is very similar OPS style. They have the 8th most home runs in the majors as well. They're middle of the pack team for strikeouts, so don't anticipate like a 12 strikeout outing from Darvish or Quintana. But they also don't take many walks at all, which I think is really going to help Darvish and Quintana, especially Darvish. The team ERA for pitchers, they are one of the worst in baseball. They have a 5.59 team ERA. So it's a good opportunity for the Cubs. It's a good opportunity for the Cubs to really make some noise offensively. We'll have to see how the weather is in Wrigley this weekend. And they have a run differential of -4 on the year. So they're really I would say an average team. They're an average team. They're 8-9. They have a good offense. The pitching is a disaster. As long as the Cubs pitching continues the way it's been and the bats can stay consistent, this should be a good series. If Hendricks only allows, I always expect Hendricks to give up a run in the first inning. As long as he only gives up 1 run or so, and it's a nice day, and the Cubs can elevate the ball and, the good launch angle and everything like that, and Darvish does well, I expect good things from Quintana at this point. Expect another series win. That's how I feel about it.
That's kind of the goal right now, is getting those series wins and closing it out, because I think that's one thing that Joe Madden really emphasizes, closing the series out. And yeah, I mean, look, Wrigley weather in April is always, funky. So we'll see how the weather is. Just like, what was it, last weekend? The wind was blowing out. The Cubs hit 4 or 5 homers. I mean, you just never know. So it's going to be a fun series. Like you said, Arizona, kind of a very similar team to the Cubs. So maybe it's evenly matched. But one thing the Cubs have to do is jump on their pitching early and then solidify that lead to kind of ease this starting rotation a little bit more. So I'm looking forward to it. Should be a fun weekend for you that you get to go to the game. So hopefully you and your family have a good time. I mean, look, man, baseball is back. Baseball is back. But very exciting time for the Cubs. I mean, I feel a little more at ease right now where the Cubs are at. Milwaukee, they kind of got a little humbled before. They got swept by the Angels. Tommy La Stella, 3 a.m. doing good things for the doing bad things against the Brewers, but good things for the Cubs. So, yeah, man, I mean, we'll see what happens in the upcoming weeks, but I'm going to wrap this thing up here. As always, thank you guys for following Cubs Live. Listen to just 2 dudes talk about sports. Hopefully, by the time you guys listen to this, the Cubs should have a sweep in Miami. But we'll see. All right, guys. Well, thank you guys so much. Thanks for listening. Have a good day, and go Cubs.